The air in the downtown skyscraper was always crisp, controlled, and tinged faintly with lemon-scented polish. Employees of the renowned Larkson Enterprises hurried across marble floors with clipboards, sleek laptops, and steaming cups of overpriced coffee. Most of them walked briskly, their eyes set on their own priorities, rarely pausing to notice the staff who quietly ensured the place gleamed like perfection. At the very top of the building, in an office that seemed to float in clouds, sat Evelyn Larkson, the CEO herself. She was 36, sharp-eyed, and spoke with a confidence that could silence a boardroom in seconds. She wore elegance the way others wore skin. Yet behind her polished image, Evelyn carried a weariness no one knew. She had built her empire with relentless grit, but lately she felt like she was surrounded by masks. Did her staff admire her for who she was, or did they bow only to her wealth and power? The question gnawed at her. So she came up with a plan. One Monday morning, Evelyn Larkson disappeared. Or at least, the version everyone knew of her did. Her signature tailored suits were replaced with thrift store cardigans. Her shiny car was traded for the subway. She tied her hair in a simple bun and showed up at her own campagna this time, not as the CEO, but as a cleaning staff temp hired through an agency. Her name tag read simply, Eve. Most employees didn't spare her more than a glance. A few barked orders, pointing at smudges on the floor or coffee rings on the conference table. Some ignored her completely, stepping around her mop bucket as if she were invisible. Evelyn took it all in silently. This was exactly what she wanted, to see people's truest colors when they believed she was nobody. And then she noticed him. He was in the lobby when she first saw him, a tall man in a slightly wrinkled uniform, pushing a mop with quiet focus. His movements were steady, his posture tired but dignified. He was older than her by maybe a few years, his hair dark with a few threads of silver, and his face carried a softness at odds with his rough job. But what struck her most wasn't his appearance. It was the way he stopped when a young intern dropped her binder and papers scattered like confetti across the floor. While others walked past, muttering about being late, he knelt down, gathered every single page, and handed them back with a smile that reached his eyes. "Thank you," the intern had said, flustered. "Don't mention it," he replied simply, before returning to his mop. Something stirred in Evelyn's chest. Over the next days, she found herself noticing him more. His name was Daniela, though most people called him the janitor without bothering to learn it. She overheard snippets of conversation that told her he was a single dad, raising a little girl on his own. He often picked up double shifts, and his shoes had seen better days. Yet he never complained. She watched him mop with quiet diligence, clean restrooms with care, and even hum a tune sometimes, as though life hadn't completely broken him. One evening, long after most employees had left, Evelyn lingered in disguise, emptying bins and wiping down tables. She saw Daniel in the cafeteria, sitting alone at a corner table. He had a worn-out lunchbox in front of him. Inside was a sandwich cut into a heart shape, slightly uneven, as though made by a child's small hands. He pulled out a sticky note tucked inside, and his face softened. Evelyn caught a glimpse of it. It was written in pink crayon, "Good luck at work, Daddy. Love, Lily." Her throat tightened. Daniel folded the note carefully, as if it were treasure, and placed it back inside the box. Evelyn returned to her apartment that night restless. She had expected to see arrogance, entitlement, and cruelty in her experiment. She had expected to be disappointed by humanity. Instead, she had found Daniela, the one person who seemed to shine brighter in struggle than many did in success. But her disguise made things complicated. She couldn't reveal who she was, not yet. And yet, she found herself wanting to talk to him, to know his story, to understand the kind of man who worked tirelessly for scraps but still smiled as if he owned the sun. Days turned into weeks, and their paths kept crossing. Daniel began to greet her with a nod, then a smile, and eventually, quiet words. "You're new here?" he asked one night when they were both cleaning an empty floor. "Yes," Evelyn replied, her voice softer than usual. "Just started." "Not an easy job," he said, wringing out his mop. "But honest work. Pays the bills." She wanted to ask more, but she simply nodded. It wasn't until later, when she saw him rushing out of the building with his lunchbox tucked under his arm, that she followed him from a distance. He boarded a bus, and she hesitated before stepping on as well. When he got off 20 minutes later, he walked into a modest neighborhood where children's laughter spilled from open windows. She saw him knock on a door. A little girl with curly hair barreled out, throwing herself into his arms. He lifted her, his tired face lighting up like dawn. Evelyn had never seen a smile so pure. For a moment, she almost forgot who she was. She wasn't the CEO of Larkson Enterprises, disguised as a cleaner. She was simply a woman watching a father and daughter who had nothing, yet seemed to have everything that mattered. That night, Evelyn lay awake in her penthouse, staring at the ceiling. Her wealth felt meaningless. For all the billions in her accounts, she didn't have what Daniel had: someone who loved her without conditions, someone who made the world worth struggling for. Her plan had been to test her staff, but now the test felt irrelevant. The real question was different. Could she dare to step out of her tower of glass and steel, and reach for something real, something fragile, something that might actually matter?